Because if we don't learn from the past, it will repeat itself in a new form of colonialism by multinational corporations. And the same geopolitical games that West Papua faced in the early 16th is repeating itself today. With Australia calling us to think about what's happening rightfully in Palestine or Israel, while looking away from a genocide against the Aboriginals, against fellow Kanakis, against West Papuans. We must decolonize ourselves. And this documentary, besides all the other important documentaries that the Native Lens Film Festival and other platforms allows us to learn. Inside universities, you got a several level of understanding about the power structures. I've been educating. I've not yet finished a university degree, but I'm educating the most prominent universities. Why? Because I've been facing colonialism up to this day. Extractivism by the world's largest gold mine, second largest copper mine, operating in the heart of West Papua, the world's largest tropical island. Militarism and silence from the most prominent institutions, including those in Australia, the US, the UK, all silent. BBC, ABC, BBC, silent about colonialism in our own very region, among your family members. 500,000, 1/3 of West Papuan population killed, while 2/3 of the West Papuan families know, all of them, a family member who lost the family. How would you feel? Imagine that it was still happening right here in Solomon Islands, that you didn't got your independence in 78, and that up to this day, 2/3 of Solomon Islanders would feel one of the family members lost. While the Melanesian and Pacific Island family is absolutely silent. Could you imagine that? In the Pacific Island Forum or Melanesian Spearhead Group. This is our reality. Not only the world, but the Pacific Island family. This is, where would you start? Where this documentary ended, our campaign under the leadership of President Benny Wenda started 20 years ago. What the journalists, one of our fellow comrades now, have been highlighting here are for those who doesn't know anything about West Papua. So we complement this documentary. But we have been re-educating the Netherlands from zero up to where we are today by repeating the story, connecting the dots of injustices, the media, universities, politics, multinational corporations, the royal family. This is what we've been educating in the universities, pushing students and teachers into their seats to listen about what they have been left behind, been silent about the last 60 years. So I'm happy. I leave it here and open the conversation for you to ask any question you want. At this moment, I am the international spokesperson for the United Liberation Movement for West Papua, joining the West Papuan delegation last month in Fiji. I was the head of the delegation presenting a speech to the 4 ministers of the Melanesian Spirit Group. But I'm also the humble activist, climate justice activist, joining the ICGO campaigners from this very region, from Solomon Islands, in The Hague, witnessing the outcome of the climate case against, the big corporations, the governments who are not taking the responsibility. Because I see the dots of extractivism, of multinational corporations denying our rights, indigenous rights on our own land, seeing how this is all intertwined. Ecocide, genocide, colonialism, militarism, media, silence, it's all intertwined, and West Papua is just one of those examples. Some hope to have this Q&A with you, to have this in-depth understanding about how you will become the future leaders, to not look away from this colonial injustice, because if we do, we'll be colonized once again, even today in an independent Solomon Islands. So I'm looking forward. Thank you, Regina, and all of you for being here, and let's have this in-depth conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Thomas. Open for question. Set. Doctor. Wow, wow, wow.
Person for me is talking about educating people around the world and Netherlands. How about in Indonesia itself? Is there much of a education amongst the younger generation of Indonesian people? Is there an openness to this story, or are they still very? Yeah. What's your insight to the
Set.
Indonesians?
Good question. So yeah, how are Indonesians themselves being educated? Understanding that West Papua is still living under colonial rule, their institutions do not allow us to speak in an honest way about their colonial legacy. So, to give an example, it is like we've seen the Dutch narrative in the documentary, that we have been twisted. Is that truth? This is the perspective that they want to Dutch people to know for much too long until we make this documentary, highlighting that it was not only about independence. There were economic interests. The royal family had an interest. Dutch corporations, the same way for Indonesia. The colonizer won't allow to their future generations that another narrative than theirs are being in the institution, being educated. So this is what we experience. Indonesia's propaganda, indoctrination to Indonesian citizens. We can't blame them. If you understand that education is part of a colonial institution, colonial system. So they only learn that how Indonesia liberated West Papua from the Dutch colonial. This is what Indonesians up to this day learn in their universities. So even the academics, the diplomats, you can see the same colonial language, because when you repeat it from grade 1 up to university, this is your truth. This is how colonial legacies work. This is how people vote for Trump to become president, because they believe social media instead of how things are really work. For Indonesians, it's exactly the same. So this is why stories and narratives matter. This is just one of our stories. If I were the film director, I would add something more. This is why we were hesitating. It took 10 years before we supported him, because we were, we didn't trust how the narrative would form and how we would. But we are happy because we could skip a lot of guest lectures and start an equal conversation after seeing it. So another example, brother, is that even our father's song, my father honored up, my brother was one of the interviews, me as well. He's the Bob Marley for the people of West Papua, the most famous, the first ethnic cultural anthropologist in the Pacific. Assassinated. Why? Because I'm just learning how powerful our culture, not only to West Papua, but to our region is. My father learned through his work as anthropologist how are these 250 different tribes in West Papua, how the way we dress, the way we cook, the way we harvest is what makes us West Papuan, is what makes us Melanesian. In his music, he combined the knowledge that he conveyed to his work and make music. This is how we became one of the targets of the new colonized Indonesia, because he learned all these different tribes to embrace our culture, because this is what makes us indigenous West Papuan and unique on this planet. And through his work and his music, he united all these different tribes. That's why he became a threat on Indonesia. They saw the power of culture and music. Up to this day, his music is banned to Indonesian, politics and institutions. Up to this day, the reason Indonesia do not know what's happening in West Papua, because the media is doing propaganda, but also the foreign media has been banned to report in West Papua up to this day. Even into Gaza and Ukraine, you see press every single day. You see more news about Ukraine than on West Papua on your TV. How is that possible? Well, your fellow Melanesians, we have our own genocide. They're propagating through ABC Australia. What should be your news? You must understand this. It's colonial system. It isn't abolished from slavery or apartheid in South Africa or the independence of Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji. We are copying what Australia wants us to hear. Remind that yourself. And we can see it through how Australia and also the Pacific is positioning themselves at the UN General Assembly. Even our fellow Melanesian countries are talking about Ukraine instead of West Papua. How is that possible? This is colonialism 2.0 if we don't be careful. That's why I'm happy to have this conversation and Dr. Edgar for asking this important question. So please, I hope this will be the invitation to more questions, because a lot of this documentary skipped, but through this Q&A, it will open up also things that I wanted to mention but forgot. So please ask any questions you have, because it will help us to understand West Papua better, but also to equip ourselves. So how to change that system that we are in, that we can't, change in one day, how to change the system from within. And I think the ICGO campaign from fellow, activists and young leaders here have shown the strength and creativity of Pacific Island students, young people. And what West Papua wanted, our independence leaders for more than 60 years, is what the ICGO campaign have done in 5 years. A UN general resolution. In that regard, it was about climate change. In our case, it would be about the unfinished decolonization of West Papua. It's the same track record. But you have done it here in the Pacific. So this gives hope to not only people around the world who are fighting climate change, but also oppressed nations right here in the Pacific, in Melanesia. And those things are intertwined. So I'm really looking forward to hear your questions about things that you think, where can I start? Or even you want something to be clarified. Thank you. I hope I answered some of your questions. Thank you. So more questions, please. Was the documentary so clear? Please, any questions? In that case, I want to jump in. Please jump in. If a question comes in, just put up your hands up. I want to tap in ahead. So, okay, we've seen this documentary now. What can we do? Because the last thing I want as spokesperson or as activist is that you sit down and do like you haven't heard or see anything. This is not how revolutions work. It means there's work to do in this region, and you have freedom to utilize in the most powerful way. If you see what's happening today in West Papua, your family members being colonized, being murdered, we're not only victims, we are also very powerful leaders. While the leadership here, mostly, I should say diplomatically because of my new position, but there's a lot of talking, including with Indonesia. They're sitting on the table while we are there as observer members. This is the opposite reality that should be here. Indonesia have more voice in a Melanesian house that has been established to decolonize Melanesia, while we are sitting there as observer members. This is the reality we're in. And until the people in Solomon Islands, in Vanuatu, in Fiji, in New Caledonia, in Papua New Guinea doesn't stand up, the leaders will get away with this. So revolutions start when people getting armed with an understanding about colonial structures. Experiencing that it is your own, what West Papua has been colonized. And we must learn from our own elders here in the Pacific, arming themselves and mobilizing themselves to end the nuclear testing in this region. Even our ancestors here, fighting for the liberation of Solomon Islands from the British, or in Vanuatu, or in Fiji. If we do not learn each other this, we become victim once again. Hopefully not as West Papua today, but it needs us all to be educating each other in a very powerful way. So heading up to the Pacific Island Forum here, we are reclaiming our space. Whether Indonesia is here and putting a lot of money, our money, your money, the world's largest gold mine belongs to not only West Papua, to Melanesia, to the Pacific Island Forum. We are feeding more than 200 million Indonesians. It is West Papua. It is your ancestors, your blood. We're feeding them. Imagine what we can do with all those wealth. We have a green state vision. We don't wait for people from outside, from the global north, to say this is good for you. We know. We're the guardians for more than 60,000 years of the world's largest tropical island. We know how to protect the forest. They don't have to educate us. We want to put a economy based on the well-being of our people, of the lands, of our culture. We are not victims. We are strong leaders. We just need the space on the table that belongs to us instead of Indonesia. So we're reclaiming our position in other spaces. And we know when we repeat this story, even if Indonesia spent $1 billion investing in Solomon Islands, their lie will never be the truth. Never. Never. It's that simple. And as long as we will continue these conversations, which have started this day, not this day, but with this documentary to many of you, a lot of comrades here, Ben, Edgar, Roderick, sisters, who have been a voice for us. And as those silence, these are the changes of hope. And over the last 20 years, it were individuals, musicians, activists, artists, students, who supported our campaign. Where this documentary ended, we relaunched, educating the people in West Papua, not in West Papua, but in the Netherlands, in the Pacific, about the ongoing genocide. If you see what we have done the last 20 years in West Papua, mobilizing 1.8 million West Papuans, signatures, it's more than 80%, instead of the 1,025 handpicked on gunpoint. West Papuans in the early 60s voted for independence or integration to Indonesia. We are showing Indonesia the power we have, even if they do not allow the UN, the media, their most militarized zones. We have no fear at this very moment. We are mobilizing our people and competing Indonesia on the highest levels. Last month, I had the privilege, I highlighted that in very short, to become the head of the West Papuan delegation at the Melanesian Spirit Group, the first time for me to participate. Among the 4 ministers of the Melanesian Spirit Group, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Indonesia was there too. When we step in with a delegation of 3, me, a Nivan, and a Fijian woman, Mere, and Comoros, the Indonesian diplomats didn't know which room, which door they should to run out of the building, just because we were there. They tried to provoke us by not allowing us to speak inside our home house, Melanesian Spirit Group. This is how Indonesia works. But the Melanesian Secretariat was steadfast, say no. The observer member have right to speak. And I did deliver the speech. Changed, somehow influenced the outcome. But it means that we need to constantly put pressure on Indonesia. And I've seen the Deputy Foreign Minister, such a big, powerful country. They're not, absolutely not. They have all the world stealing from our country, but we have the truth, we have international law and all the facts. We have nothing to fear about. The only thing we have to do is to educate our fellow Melanesian and Pacific Islanders, to remind them about the colonial legacy continuing under Indonesia, and that Indonesia is constantly trying to repeat the lies that they have done since they invaded West Papua and never left and killed more than 500,000 of your family members in West Papua. We should repeat the story. And what you will see is that the leadership of this country cannot look away in 2 years' time. Certainly not in 3 years' time. We will make sure that will not happen. They will win this Pacific Island Forum. But in 3 years' time, we will have a different momentum. I will promise you that. Because why? Because you will become the voice of the West Papuans here. And you have powerful positions in whatever institution. You repeat the story. And if you repeat the story over and over again, you will believe that independence is possible. Because this is how we end slavery. This is how we got South Africa got the independence. This is how East Timor got the independence from Indonesia in 1999. This is how Solomon Island got independence. When we learn that we are not powerless, we have immense power as individuals who are willing to collaborate, strategize, mobilize. This is how revolutions over and over again show that truth will win, as long as we understand what truth is and how powerful it is. So that's what makes me so confident that this is encouraging. To be here as West Papuan, as Melanesian, as Pacific Islander, seeing this documentary here, you do not understand how happy I am that Sister Regina and the Film Festival allows me to be here, and the friends who organized this. We have come from a far end, but Indonesia is afraid because we are settling a green state vision better than them in any COP. We do not have the same space and the money, but we have a better solution for the world. We own that fact that we are the guardians of the world's largest tropical island. Not a Greenpeace or whatever institution can tell us that what the solution is. I put them into the seats and sit down and listen. I'm the spokesperson of the world's largest tropical island. I know what is best, and it's about decolonial solutions. Give us our land rights back, and you will see how we will manage the land, the forest. It's that simple. This is what my father have done in true music. Embrace our culture. This is what the goal is. The true goal is our culture, the well-being of our people and the communities. It's that simple. We have started to settle a democratic structure before independence last month. A full Senate, our own majors, countering the colonial rule, learning from revolutions right here in Melanesia. And we are just getting warmed up. Whether they like it or not, whether the politician will take the responsibility here, we don't wait for them. We are organizing ourselves and we see the momentum building. A chief from Malaitam being here, friends, just learn from each other. Yes. Questions?
Thanks, Raki, for the documentary.
Thank you.
I think it's in leading up to the Pacific Island Forum.
Yes.
It's unfair to see that China has been on the conversation. It's also divide our leaders.
Right.
Instead of having West Papua also to one of the agenda is the Taiwan China. My question is in regards to the Pacific Island Forum. Have the ULMWP met with Piango, BSE to influence the Pacific Island Forum agenda in regards to West Papua? And what are your expectations for the Pacific Island Forum?
Thank you so much for the question. Yes, absolutely right. I think looking at the lead up towards PIF, that how Taiwan and China are basically dominating the news and also influencing the political decision, we must learn. And I hope that we put Melanesia and Pacific first, beside whatever topic, either it is Taiwan or China or even Palestine, bringing forward by Australia. We should think about our own region's interest first. I think this is why decolonization starts. What are our priorities? And then, yes, regarding our participation in PIF, I've heard from our leadership that they are waiting for confirmation through other Melanesian countries to participate, like we've participated in the Melanesian Spirit Group in the same way, so that the ULMWP get recognized, at least by the Pacific Island Forum, in the same way that the Melanesia Spirit Group have allowing West Papua to participate as observer member. Of course, it's not the same status that the ULMWP have in the Pacific Island Forum, but this is absolutely something that we are working on, and hopefully this will be a momentum that we at least can interact in a stronger way than before with the Pacific Island Forum. And I'm confident that looking what happened in the MSG where I myself have been participating in, that West Papua will be hopefully higher on the agenda than the last Pacific Island Forum. And we have to look whether we will participate. What we are trying to do is via the civil society organizations, Piango and others, also to have a hook and create side events where we have similar talk story sessions that we can educate all the stakeholders who are joining the Pacific Island. It's an important occasion. So through our One Talks here, I've been asking to facilitate side events while the entire Pacific is here, the CSO spaces are there. We utilize that moment to educate those people about unfinished decolonization, about topics that when you fight climate change, you speak about climate justice, you cannot ignore what's happening on the world's largest tropical island. It makes you not serious. You're not understanding the power structures that have caused this climate change. Carbon emission is the very end of all the power structures that have caused this emission. So yes, I'm looking very forward to participate in the side events with the climate justice movement, with the CSO, to line up the interest of Pacific, the interest of Melanesia, and West Papua is one of them, especially if you look what's happening on the ground. They cannot look away and talk about a peace and blue Pacific. How can you talk about peace? Well, there's a genocide in a region where 500,000 West Papuans are being killed. You cannot talk about peace. So this is what we are here for, to keep the mirror in front of the civil society organizations, the political leaders, but I'm confident that when you see this documentary, you cannot look away. So I'm looking forward to have the interaction with all the stakeholders during the PIF. Thank you for the question. Yes, brother. Thank you, Thomas. Yes. Wow. Yes. 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 Thank you, Thomas, for that important question. So yeah, what's happening with the situation in the the areas where a lot of military operations are going on as we speak? This is a good question. The situation in West Papua, beside it has been blocked by by Indonesia, the foreign media have been blocked. Also, organizations like the Red Cross and Amnesty are all banned to report in West Papua. So news is not coming out. The reality, finally, we have pushed the UN Human Rights Commission in Geneva to make more reports. Now we can see statements that we haven't seen before by the Netherlands, by the US, by New Zealand, Australia about the ongoing human rights situation. We got more than 60,000 plus internal displaced people, especially in the highlands. That's exactly where the gold mines are. And they found a new gold mine. Beside the biggest one, there's an even bigger one being discovered. It's very close. In those areas, you can see Indonesia military buildup. Since the current president, a former general of Indonesian military, of the special forces, he was the one who was the commander in the bloody massacre of East Timor before the independence in 1999. So understand that since he took over, we saw a military buildup increase, especially in the hotspots. We see simultaneously, and luckily the UN Human Rights Commission have observed this and sent this in the reports, that we see atrocities, gross human rights atrocities happening, and it's been unreported because of the media blackout. So therefore, our call is to our Melanesian leaders to become the voice. Instead of in UN General Assemblies highlighting causes, yes, that I support, outside Melanesia, but not on the first place, right? Focus on atrocities in West Papua, in the region, against your own family members. So a lot of internal displaced people, and if you would ask me, it are very own institutions, either universities, either media, who are not taking the right, steps in profiling. We should, like what I see in the Netherlands, every day, mainstream news, front page, talk shows on a daily basis, radio about the war in Ukraine. The European leaders standing firm next to the people in Ukraine, facilitating them with billions of dollars, diplomatic, everything they're doing. West Papua, even here. The result, of course, we don't hear anything, we don't see anything. It's a result of when institutions and leaders don't take the responsibility. It's that simple. So the reason I'm here is to make you the journalist. This is how we've been operating. Is make you the politician. Is make you the teacher. This is how revolutions work. We don't wait for them to save us. If the end result is silence over and over again, we must organize ourselves to make sure that they hear the news and they see the genocide. Because if they don't see it, they don't hear it, how can they feel something? And when you feel something, you will be activated. And if you feel the urgency in a way that I feel it, that your father have been killed, 500,000 of your fellow men, women, children, elderly, church leaders, you would run twice as hard as those who haven't heard the story. It's that simple. So as long as we be silent, this atrocity will continue and Indonesia will get away, but also our political leaders. They'll get away because we are not informed in a way that we should. So that's why I'm here for. Ahead of the PIF to start this documentary in the hope that we can reach as much as hearts and minds as possible. And when we repeat it over again, this is how we will break the deadly silence and bring West Papua back on the tables that belongs to us. And it is Pacific Island Forum and Melanesian Spirit Group. Thank you for that amazing question, brother, and for your solidarity all this time and your voice. These are the changes. Any other questions? Yes, brother.
Personally, what's your biggest
Set. Wow, what a beautiful question. Thank you. What is my biggest dream for my people in the Pacific as whole? Obviously, I'm living that dream at this very moment by becoming a voice for the oppressed, my people. I'm living the dream for Papua Merdeka because I reclaim the space to talk about West Papua. Because if I do this in West Papua, in the best case scenario, I end up in prison. In the worst case scenario, I end up like my father, or more than 500,000 West Papuans being killed. So I'm living the dream by not allowing any force to silence me in who I am, a proud indigenous West Papua Melanesian Pacific Islander. That's who I am. And I want the entire world to know that. Secondly, that dream has become a reality the moment I start believing into it and working on it on a daily basis. As proud, practical, educated guy, I have not a university degree yet. I've shown the world that knowledge is what you believe you can and will achieve. Been educating the most prominent universities about our liberation, the promised freedom, had brought me something that I could never believed I would achieve. And I believe that freedom, looking at what we've done 20 years ago, starting by the launch of Free West Papua campaign by Benny Wenda, fast forward to this day, I've been pitching last month on behalf of West Papua to the 4 ministers of the Melanesian Spirit Group, this dream come alive, becoming a voice on the highest level, breaking the deadly silence. I've seen that I am not powerless. Even if we have not such big countries like Ukraine, even Palestine, Australia behind them, who have we behind us? Yet we are here, being a voice, re-educating the leaders in this region. I've seen how our dream is possible just by understanding how past revolutions, independence struggles have resulted in freedom. As long as we are consistent, we believe, strategize, and mobilize. So I believe that West Papua freedom will be there. Not next year, but invite me in 3 years again, right here. Make this room full, and I will give you an update how this freedom wish have been evaluated in this region and in the Pacific. And when independence is there, this is the best part, brother, so thank you for this question. When independence of West Papua is there, let us dream together. If you know that West Papua is the richest province of Indonesia, the world's largest gold mine is just one of those resources. We don't need them, but it belongs to us. We have the second largest copper mine in the world, many other resources, and just 1.8 million, 2 million indigenous West Papuans. We will become the most powerful, richest nation on this planet. If you only look at the resources from the global north perspective, yeah? Because we care about the forest and the well-being of our culture. Imagine what we can do with those words, not only for West Papua, but for Melanesia, for Pacific. While we're feeding 200 million Indonesians, we could build the green state vision that we are willing to do. We're not willing, we will do that. We're already doing that. But when we are free, we will bully out Australia in this region, setting out their agenda, their interest, instead of the indigenous Pacific Islander agenda. We will take the lead showing how proud we should be on our culture, on our lands, and how this way of living could, save the planet and the climate change, because we go back to who we are meant to be as Pacific Islanders. This is what I dream about. And we are working on this on the same, in the same time. And it enriched my life in the way that I would you to experience too. Because I believe that this way of thinking and acting have enriched my life in a way that I didn't believe it was possible. And if we do that all at the same time, imagine what kind of future we would have in Melanesia in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. If all the Pacific Islanders would stand next to West Papua, you think these big corporations can do what they do, get away with this polluting? No, they won't. This is the power of when West Papua can become free. We are looking forward to take leadership in taking back control, our resources, our culture, our lands, and show the world how powerful the Pacific is and that they need us and not reversed. They need us. We don't need them. They need us. So I leave it there. Thank you for that beautiful question.
Okay, so we've reached our time now.
Set.
With that, Raki, thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas.
And Raki will be here up until the PIF meeting, and we will have another 2 more screenings around when we have to confirm and time and all that. So we'll keep you guys notified. Once again, thank you everyone for come and be part of this one, and thank you everyone to be voice below West Papua. So I think giving big hand for everyone. And again, another hand for Raki. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas.